Welcome, Sagittarius, your Chiron into Taurus. 50-year return, 3-month forecast for the ascendant, the sun, or the moon. On the 19th of June, for an initial 13 weeks, Chiron moves into the earthy, practical Taurus. The last time it started this journey was in 1977. The last time it was in Taurus, 1984. So it's a really big deal. We can talk about Chiron in Taurus from an overall viewpoint, but what would it mean from a purely Sagittarian one? On the screen is your event chart. I'm going to unpack this for you. By the end of the video, you'll have a clearer picture of what's upcoming in terms of your energy, work, relationships, or finances. I'm astrologer Patrick Arundell. A very warm welcome. If you've yet to subscribe to my channel, please do so now, but please also click or tap the bell notification symbol. So Chiron in mythology was the trainer, the life coach, if you like, of the gods, whether it was in combat, herbalism, astrology. So a very wise and able figure, but then sustained that injury to the foot, said never to heal. In our natal chart, some astrologers feel that we never resolve Chiron's impact. Chiron can be where we do feel a lot of anguish, but it can also be our superpower. Now, in your nativity, you may not have Chiron in Taurus, but for you, in Taurus collectively, it's in your sixth house, very much to do with physical health, but also to do with routines, work, and perhaps also being virtuous. The sign of Taurus, however, is very much to do with our personal worth. It can be to do with our values and our approach to money, but an appreciation of things like cooking things from scratch, growing our own vegetables, buying our produce locally or organically if we can afford it. All of those things will be good things to do in the years ahead. Chiron will return back into Taurus on the 14th of April next year, where it will be for 7 years. Now, Chiron has a really unusual orbit, and at its widest expanse, it goes through Aries, which obviously it's been doing full time since February 2019. Really encouraging you to work on expressing joy in your life. But for the next 7 years, from next April, it will be in Taurus. But at the other end of its spectrum, it can spend as little as 1.5 years in each sign, in that case in Libra. And it has a flavour of both Saturn and Uranus, the co-regents of the sign of Aquarius. Saturn very much about that discipline and wisdom, Uranus being very progressive. So how will it play out for you? So that sixth house has been disrupted over the last 7 years by Uranus. And if you have found it very hard to get into any kind of pattern, rhythm, or disciplined sort of regime, it wouldn't be a surprise. Now, I know for sure, because my wife's a Sagittarius, that that's not necessarily something that Sagittarius people are that much into, because you like flexibility and also spontaneity and like to be free to work in things at your own pace. But we all do need a degree of rhythm, and that rhythm, I feel, has been elusive. So one of the great things about Chiron in the sixth house in the practical functional Taurus is to try and get things working better. So there's a great chance to do that over the next 3 months. Now, that could be around your work, because the moon is right at the top of your chart. So it's the most visible planet. Also, you can see the south node, but the moon there suggests that your feelings could be close to the surface during this initial visit, but you have a great chance, because the 10th house is your career and how you connect to the world at large. The 6th house much more to do with the details. So I think that looks very encouraging to get things moving in a way which is productive, but also that efficiency can bring you potential opportunities. Also, as we go into this new period, Mars the planet of action, is in Taurus, so the same sign as Chiron, but in the sixth house, Mars has been giving your stamina some support recently. Now, if you haven't felt that, maybe there are some other things you need to work on in terms of rest and exercise, but generally that's a strong position. And also Mars is forging a brilliant link to your ruler Jupiter and also Mercury, and that duo themselves are in a sensational conjunction. But that energy of Mars, very good, because with Mars and Jupiter aspecting one another, timing just seems to fall into place more easily. But also, it could mean that your desire to achieve things through that efficiency can actually have a really significant impact on your earnings, but in a very positive way. But how do we think about the sixth house more in terms of the value of Taurus? Well, I think it could be to do with your how you view your body. I mean, obviously, the first house is very much about image, but the sixth house is about our fitness, if you like. So, if you do feel sluggish, you don't feel as lean as you would like. I mean, there's so much imagery out there that's almost unattainable. It's not so good. So when we see big fashion houses use fuller size figure models, I think that's a very positive thing because we all have our challenges. But very few people don't have one part of their anatomy that they're completely happy with. So you could find some refinements that you do can actually help you to feel better in yourself. But the other thing about sixth house energy, it can be hypercritical and hyper self-critical. And if that has been part of your history, that could be part of your wound. So that's something to work on. And I mentioned earlier about anything to do with naturally grown vegetables or growing stuff in your own yard or perhaps cooking from scratch. All of those things, stripping things down to that very functional level about what you're putting in your system is again a very virtuous thing you can do with Chiron. But don't be surprised because obviously you're someone with huge knowledge about so many different things. If you do start encouraging other people to be taking care of themselves more, but sixth house energy can be also very sacrificing. So one of the things you've got to be sure of that you're not giving too much to others and not keeping enough back for yourself. And inevitably with Chiron, if we do things for people, we can't necessarily expect that they are going to match that. That's just the reality, unfortunately, of Chiron. Because for me, it is about once we get to accepting what we give and give it freely and expect nothing in return, apart from good manners, then that actually reduces the negative impact of Chiron in our charts. And it will always be our superpower. So, what about the other planetary influences? We can see that Uranus is right on that seventh house cusp. So, after causing potential chaos over the last 7 years, it may have also shown up some brilliant opportunities if all a bit helter skelter. But Uranus is forging a fantastic link to Venus, which is great for relationship matters. It's also linking back to Pluto. So we've got an opposition between Venus and Pluto, but Venus linking to Uranus and Venus back to Neptune is all absolutely brilliant if you are wanting to inject greater excitement into your love life. But you know, the place you may meet someone could be where you go to get fitter. So Chiron in the sixth house could be the fitness suite. It could be the local running club. It could be the swimming pool. It could be a swim fit club. It may be in the supermarket queue, but wherever you're just taking a bit more care of yourself, that's where you could have a dazzling connection. Now, the position of Chiron also links well with the nodal axis, but Uranus doesn't. So, what I would say to that is that if you are listening to your inner voice about your emotional direction, Chiron can come in and support that absolutely fine. If, however, that work-life balance is a bit out of kilter, or a relationship comes along and affects it, that could be a bit of an issue over the next 3 months because Uranus is in a square with the moon. So that suggests, along with the T square with the nodal axis, But if you do meet someone and you really like them, it may be more difficult to just focus on your home and emotional life and also your professional situation. And that's why being very organized and on the ball with the details is so critical over these next 3 months. I'm going to summarize those 4 areas of energy: work, relationships, and finances next, Sagittarius. But you can download a free uh, Chiron factoid. Tells you all about the mythology, the astrology, and Chiron in each zodiac sign and in each house too. Please see that below. I've reduced the price of my personal horoscope reports. If you followed me for some time, they've been buy two, get 30% off for years. But now it's buy one, get three, because I'm appreciating people are feeling the cost of living increases. The one you pay for is your life roadmap report, helps us to understand the patterns that are playing out in our lives and have a more intimate understanding of those energies and how to work with them. But you get free your 12 months transit forecast and your Draconic Soul Karmic analysis, which helps us to look at astrology, life, and ourselves in a very different way, and perhaps even a profound one. Please see below for more. If you've yet to watch your June Moon Magic overview, which looks at the month from a lunar perspective, or your June general forecast on the screen. If you'd like to work with me one-to-one, it would be an absolute pleasure. Please see my testimonials below. And if you've yet to sign up for your free daily written horoscope, fired to your device each morning, you can do so below too. So to summarize, as far as your energy is concerned, if you have been feeling out of kilter and your vitality has been lower than ideal, I feel that Chiron does give you a big window of opportunity. But the sign of Taurus is about functional approach. So it's about doing things that give you a tangible outcome. So working with guidebooks or apps that can help you with calories or exercise, all the information that you have such an aptitude for that you're feeding into your situation can help you to make better lifestyle choices. And then you can value yourself more, particularly as you get trimmer. I've been doing some weights recently. I do try to do walking twice a day, but last year my rheumatoid arthritis was so bad I really couldn't walk hardly at all. But I'm now on biologics, which is really helping that. And there's no doubt about it. When I do the weights, you feel your feet get warm, even though I do that walking. So very, very helpful to do these things. And just being mindful of simplifying your life and trying to get it a bit more ordered will conserve more energy. As far as your professional situation is concerned, I think it obviously depends on what's going on for you, because the technological changes that are happening for all of us is having a big impact. But with your ruler Jupiter in such a brilliant conjunction with Mercury and both linking back to Mars, if your energy is coming back, your enthusiasm, but also you're prepared to work for the greater good, I think you can have a breakthrough. And that breakthrough can definitely be financial as well. When it comes to your relationship situation, if you're single, you really have got a great chance to connect with someone fresh and new. If you're in a relationship where perhaps it's okay, but it has its moments, I think one of the things that would be really lovely for you to do is maybe get that exercise bug going between you, whether it's going out on bikes or going for a bit of a run or a walk. That actually can be motivating. You can spur each other on. But if you are in a relationship which is going very, very well, I think it maybe could just benefit from changing things up. So if the routines have become a little bit, even for you, a little bit too ordered and predictable, time to do something much more spontaneous, because that really gives you a big boost of life energy. It's been a pleasure being with you, Sagittarius. All the best, and look forward to seeing you again soon.